Welcome back, my friend. My name is Ifty. We're exploring the realm of spirituality and sharper intuition. And today we're going to talk about why you must protect your energy. In this video, I'm going to talk about four things that are draining your energy. Knowing what these four things are will help you become more aware of it, and we're going to talk about some things that you can do to help protect your energy. So, with that being said, friends, let's get right into the video. Now, I've been going on this journey of finding my true purpose and going through a spiritual awakening, which has been an incredible experience, all with its ups and downs. You can think of energy sort of like a currency. And energy is something you're given a finite amount of when you wake up every morning. Everybody's capacity is a little bit different, but you can sort of think of it as a jug of your total capacity throughout the day. And every time you go on Twitter, you're interacting with things, you're talking to friends and family, you're talking to all these different things, interacting with all these different things in your reality. You're giving out little, imagine people coming up to you with their cups out and you're pouring out little bits to everybody. And then finally, when you get to the thing that you're meant to do, you sit down, finally sit down, you're getting ready to get into your work, do some deep work, and you find you can't. You feel like you're drained, like you got nothing left in your tank. Well, becoming aware of these four things and becoming more conscious of them will help you protect and preserve your energy. So, what is that? Number one, your family. Your family loves you very much, and many of them, everybody's experiences are a little bit different. But I'll say, I have family that I know love me very much and are, always trying to think of me with their best intentions. But their best intentions are not always what's best for me. Our family members were one of the first sources of validation that we received as children. Yeah, think of when you were growing up as a child and maybe you were playing with some of your first toys, or you did something really good that made your parents very proud. Of course, they were the first ones to validate you. And so that's created a connection, not only a spiritual, but even a neurological, psychological connection between what your parents think and say about your actions and versus what you think and feel about your actions. This can be really hard to shake off, especially if, right now you're living with your parents and are going through this process of spiritual awakening and becoming a different person, becoming the person you were always meant to be, and seeing some of the critiques from your parents. It can be really hard to shake that off. But becoming more conscious of the person your parents think you are is not who you actually are. They're projecting their intentions on you. They're projecting their visions of who they thought you were going to be onto you. And it can be really easy to have that become intrusive thoughts while you're going through this new process. But this new process, this new identity, kind of like a new suit you're putting on, your parents coming up to you and saying, "Hey, well, I don't know if that suit fits you quite right. I don't know if, maybe it needs a little tailoring here or there." You need to cut that out. You need to completely, well, actually, we'll get to this in another point. So that's number one. Your family will always be there to critique you, and especially will be the first to notice when you're not fitting the mold that they envisioned you in. Number two, your friends. Now, when I was younger, I was bullied a lot. And as I grew up, I got into high school. I became a little bit cooler. I was a little bit more fit. I changed my style a little bit. People start to notice me. I got a new group of friends. And it was the first time I had validation aside from my parents in my life. People who thought I was really cool and noticed all these interesting things about me, and maybe things I thought were nerdy before are now really interesting to other people. I was getting so much validation and it felt so good. What I realized is I was becoming more and more like the people I was putting up on a pedestal, those who were sprinkling me with great compliments and admiration, also were projecting their personalities, their ideas and beliefs onto me, maybe even subconsciously. And, through this need of validation that I had from before with the parents, I was also taking on things and, good and bad habits, mostly bad habits, of friends that I had at the time. And growing up, especially when I was very young, before I moved away from home, that group of friends was not necessarily the best influence for me. Many of them have gone down alternate paths in life, you could say, and are living a very different life than what I live now. But had I stayed with those friends, and had I not made the choice to move away from home when I was young and leave them all behind, I would have been a very different person. Friends have so much influence over us. It can be really hard to even make a move like that, to move to a different province and realize that you may or may not ever see them again. I remember in that moment when I was moving away from home to a completely different part of the country on my own, I had this deep magnetism to not leave my friend groups. It was really hard for me to make that move. And there was a large amount of importance on the friends and the influence they had on me in my life at that time. But now looking back, I realized that was not me, that was actually the ego. The ego is a part of us that is a self preservation mechanism that is designed to help keep us safe and has served us well throughout, thousands of years of evolution. But we must realize that the ego will keep us trapped in the reality we're currently in. And in order for us to move on into a new phase of our development, of our growth and expansion, we must leave the old behind, which also means leaving behind what the ego cares about most. But at the same time, I acknowledged all the bad habits. I acknowledged the directions and paths in life that they were going down and that didn't resonate with me. Even though I had this fear of the unknown, I made the leap and I moved away on my own. But as soon as I moved away, I attracted immediately a new group of friends that resonated much closely to me at that time. And then again, the same process happened years later when I chose to become a paramedic. And I had to leave that group of friends behind for very similar reasons because it didn't resonate with the new path that I was on. So you're always going to meet new people in life. You're going to meet people that resonate closely to you in life, so long as you're open to leaving the old behind and fully embracing the new reality. You will be supported in this mission. Number three, your old habits. Now, I'm still working on this today. I just put up a video not long ago, a couple days ago, talking about my experience with cannabis, marijuana. And I've been a cannabis smoker for a long time, a large part of my life, ever since hanging out with this early group of friends. But this is something I've had as a deep part of my identity as a daily cannabis smoker for a very long time. A lot of the things I had no questions to earlier on in life, I have now. I have a deeper sense of purpose. I have more of a commitment to bringing value to people like yourselves and bringing value to the world. And I'm starting to realize some of the things that may be holding my vibration back, especially since I started doing meditation. But these old habits can bring us back down to a vibration of neutrality, especially when we're talking about things like smoking and drinking. We may not think of it as a big deal. You may even think of it as a reward. Maybe after a hard day's work, a long day, you like to sit down and smoke a joint. That's not uncommon. But when you start to figure other things that can raise your vibration in a very clean way, and you start to achieve higher and higher levels of vibration, you'll find that the substances that used to help you in previous years of your life, that would bring you up from down states, from dark states, and uplift you, actually can't even match the vibration you're at right now naturally when you're doing your exercises and in your zone. It would be wise to look at some of the substances you dabble with, some of the habits you have, whether it's going to the gym, not going to the gym, um, eating, your eating habits, your just general lifestyle habits are supposed to support your mind and your being on where you are right now. And maybe these things have supported you in the past, but with this new expanded state of consciousness, it's time to look at these things and see if they're serving you as well as they have in the past. Number four, and this one is a hard one to run away from. We all have to deal with it in today's day and age, and that is technology and Wi Fi. I had a ton of apps on my phone. I was completely connected with social media, and I hit like a pretty dark state maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I couldn't explain why. It was like this sadness that would just come up out of nowhere, and I'd be walking around. I'd be having a great day, and then all of a sudden I'll feel sad and just kind of down and mellow, and my energy would be, all scattered all over the place. I realized, looking at my phone, that a lot of the phones now tell you stats of how many hours you spend on your apps, right? One of my most used apps was Twitter, and I was almost subconsciously opening it thinking, oh, I'm just going to check my notifications with the idea of growing my Twitter following, and realized that I would scroll. And I wouldn't scroll for very long. I would do like maybe like 4 or 5 like little finger movements like this. And I'd be looking at all these different things that would come up, vying for my attention, trying to pull my attention into my phone, into these things that maybe have nothing to do with my personal growth or expansion of consciousness at all. Again, just vying for my attention. And going back to the initial analogy, when you wake up with a big cup full of capacity and people come to you with their little empty cups asking for little bits of your attention, Twitter almost seemed like I was just holding the jug like this, just pouring it out while I was on the app. And I'd find like a large amount of my attention and energy was drained. So the first thing I did, and it was not easy for me to admit, is that I had to reduce my social media and go on a social media diet. I deleted all my social media apps, including Twitter. So now I'm only able to access it through my computer. And when I'm at my computer, I've trained myself to do purposeful activities. I must know what I'm sitting down at the computer to do before I go on and do it. Even if it's to browse YouTube videos, I must have the intention to do that. And so I've set the intention of when I sit down at my computer and I want to write, I love to write, and I want to write out a long tweet or schedule a couple tweets for the week, I can go on Twitter and I can do that. And the scheduling feature for Twitter is excellent. I highly recommend it as a sort of hack or workaround to this dilemma that we get ourselves into with social media. And truth be told, after not having Twitter on my phone for a couple weeks, I haven't felt any less connected to my peers or people that I follow. It's just the time that I spend now with that app is more purposeful through my monitor. I can open like 30 tabs and spend an evening, sitting there with a beverage and just casually, it's more enjoyable because I've given myself that restriction. There's actually more freedom within that restriction to spend that time, and not feel shameful or guilty about it afterwards. So these are the 4 things. Becoming aware of these things and knowing how they affect your energy on a daily basis is going to allow you to take your capacity back and deploy it towards the things that you really care about. They're going to move the needle in your life. I'd love to know of these 4 things. Put it down in the comments below that's draining your energy the most. How are you giving away your power, and how do you plan on taking it back? With that being said, my friend, I'll see you again on the next video. Peace.